Did you know that the reason why you self-sabotage is because it allows you to predict what's going to happen, which makes you feel like you have control over a situation that you feel powerless in? You see, if we grew up around people who had a lot of limiting beliefs, then we often start to internalize their limiting beliefs and take them on as our own beliefs. And then those limiting beliefs become the limits of how much we think we're capable and worthy of achieving. So in adulthood, when we come across a goal that subconsciously we feel like we're not worthy of achieving, then we sabotage ourselves and don't do what needs to be done to achieve that goal. The reason why we do this is so that we can prove that the limiting belief we have is correct, and so that we can avoid feeling whatever negative consequences we've been taught would happen if we ignored that limiting belief. So for example, if you've been told all your life that you'll never amount to anything, then when you reach adulthood and want to start a business, you might keep putting off what needs to be done, because inside yourself, you don't actually think that you're capable of being successful. So instead, you might procrastinate or be such a perfectionist that you never actually get anything done. The reason you do this is so that you can protect yourself from whatever it is that you're afraid will happen if you actually try. Now, what we're afraid will happen can be different for each person. But in this case, it might be that this person is afraid that the world will find out just how incapable they are. So they try to preempt that by not even trying, and therefore not putting themselves in a position where the outside world could tell them that they're a failure. Another person might have grown up being told that successful people are bad and greedy. So that person might sabotage their goal of starting a business because they're afraid that if they succeed, then they'll be seen as bad and greedy too, and they'll no longer fit in with the people that they grew up with. So while the reasons and behaviors can be different for each person, what remains the same is that self-sabotaging is always a protective behavior. And this protective behavior doesn't only show up in our careers. It can show up in our relationships too. So for example, if you come from a background of dysfunctional relationships, then you might avoid putting yourself out there and finding a new relationship because you're afraid that you'll repeat the dysfunction of your past. So whatever your unique situation may be, the first step to overcoming self-sabotage is to identify what your specific sabotaging behaviors are. When you want to set a goal for yourself, what do you do that stands in the way of your own success? Figure it out and be as specific about it as you possibly can. Because when you're clear about what your own pattern is, you can identify it quicker when you see yourself start to do it. And more importantly, you can change directions and do something different when you start to see this pattern happening in your life. So after you identify what sabotaging behaviors you typically do, ask yourself why you feel the need to sabotage yourself. What are you really afraid of? This is the most crucial step of this whole process, because until you identify and take on your fears directly, they'll just continue to control your life through subconscious behaviors like self-sabotage. Now, as we talked about, our fears can be highly personal. So identifying what our unique fears are is absolutely crucial. The best way to do this is to be real with yourself. Don't sugarcoat the answers that come to mind when you ask yourself this question, and don't judge yourself for any of the answers either. Because it might even be that your self-sabotaging behaviors are really just trying to tell you that you don't actually want the goal that you're trying to force yourself to achieve. You might just be trying to please someone else by forcing yourself to take on that goal, in which case your self-sabotaging behavior is really just your inner self trying to warn you that that goal is not the right path for you. Whatever the case may be, you'll need courage to actually start living differently and to let go of the beliefs that no longer serve you. So treat yourself with extreme kindness and remind yourself that fear is a learned behavior that can be unlearned. You don't have to stay stuck in this sabotaging state forever. Now that you know what it is and why it's occurring in your life, you have the power and the tools needed to behave differently. So do so. I hope this all helps. Check out my YouTube channel for more tips on how to build better relationships. Thanks again.